The United States designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern has been a subject of discourse in, the recent week. Now we'll be having that conversation with Dr. Joachim Ezeji. He's the CEO, Gulf of Guinea Risk and Resilience Institute. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
Now, what do you think about this U.S. designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern? What are your thoughts on this issue?
It's good you asked me this question, and I can tell you without missing words that it's a call for better governance, not good governance anymore, because I would think we have overused the term good governance, and the meaning appears to be lost. So I think it's a wake-up call on the government of Nigeria, the federal government in particular, to improve governance in Nigeria and up their games on security. When the American government is telling you stem the tide of killings of Christians, it means there have been little or no action. There have not been commensurate response, either preventive or preventive on the part of government to stem the tide. So, and the world have been watching. They have been seeing everything that have been happening and how governments keep treating terrorists with kid gloves. So it is a call, do this, but people appear to misunderstand it. And when you listen to some people, it seems to give the impression that this is planned. It's a conspiracy by certain forces in the country to do otherwise. So governments should not feel that they have a threat from America. America is asking you to improve governance because our constitution is very clear that security of lives and properties is the primary role of government, because on it, every other thing stands. Without peace and security, you cannot be able to run your economy. People cannot be able, communities cannot coexist, and nothing else can stand. Food education, call it whatever. So it's a wake-up call. I see it primarily as a wake-up call, and it's important government sees it that way and not the other way.
All right. So what would you say is the general implication of this sanction when you look at Nigeria from a global perspective?
One, it's a reputational damage to the government of Nigeria, especially the president. Because, this president came in with a Muslim ticket. So that was suspect from the beginning. Though these killings did not start today, they started long ago. Even our greatest nightmare was the immediate past president, Buhari. But Buhari did not take some of the risks. He didn't take extreme actions like we see now. If the Muslim ticket should not even have been allowed to go into that election, talk of winning it. Because when you see, our constitution was very clear. It's very clear that Nigeria is a secular state. It's a secular state. There must be balance. You can't come and, because of political experience, you want to win the election by all means, you throw a Muslim ticket at us. The electoral commission, I don't know if they have the powers, even if they don't have, he himself should be sensible enough to know that he will have a reputation. But the president really doesn't care about his reputation. He really doesn't care about governance. A lot of things happens. If you look at a lot of allegations have been made against key people in government. And what you get is an official witness. Nobody is talking. Government president is not talking. This couldn't have happened during Obasanjo's time. Obasanjo got rid of a lot of top government officials based on allegations, and which are investigated. Now you say this one has bought properties in America here, and the government just keep quiet. You now make this allegation, this happened here, the president just keep quiet. Now talking about Christian killings. And as a Nigerian who has been in this country, I do not see the action of the government. I have not seen the action the government have taken. So the implication, when you talk about the implication is that you can look at it from three different scenarios. There can be an optimistic, one is optimistic, the other one is moderate, and the last one is worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario means, you see how Nigerians are trying to talk back at the US, Nigerians, I didn't say the Nigerian government. The Nigerian government have been a bit more measured in their approach. People who have access to the press and who are also suspects, who have some level of relationship, like you see Sheikh Gumi, they keep talking openly. The world is very open. This is the time for the federal government to caution all the people who are making all these unwarranted comments against the US, because the US have more intelligence. They have information that we may not have. Even if we have it, we don't know how to use it. I would see it more as an advisory. The government, Trump says, if you fail to stem the tide of killing of Christians in Nigeria, and now people are coming up with different narratives. The US want to take Nigerian mineral. The US want to stop China. US want to get rid of Tinubu because he sponsored Kamala Harris election. Those things are not necessary. Those are not the issues. Address the issues. And it's this cacophony of voices that are making this country not to grow. We can't do well when we have all this. We should use mature intelligence to look at this, interrogate it, and do a very good analysis and have a measured response to the government, because this has a ripple effect on our policy, diplomacy, local governance, and civil society. So, but the scenarios I'm talking about, when you look at the three different scenarios, the worst case scenario is that the Pentagon or the Department or the Ministry of War, as Trump said, will be fully unleashed if what is happening now continues to go on. But if government comes in with some reforms, decide to improve, to diffuse tension via diplomatic and governance reforms, you see that this will change. You know, you look at all the military, and you look at bring in reforms, and you track their responses, how these things are going on. Then the moderate is when this when you have some measure, everybody comes down, look at it as his own position and see how things can work better. You get your best diplomats to talk, to link up with the Department of State, and they look at it, and you don't go there to argue or go there and show that you are Nigeria. When you know that Nigeria does not have that laudable standing positioning in the world. Well, we can say we play some football. We can say we have oil and gas. Beyond that, what else do we have that makes us a superpower? We are not a superpower. So we cannot even afford to go into a Disney park, verbal or physical, with the US. So we have to come back, because this is a goal. Govern properly. We have been talking about bad governance in Nigeria. There's so much corruption. The government is not talking about it. EFCC will see those who are doing a lot of bad things, corruption. They will not do anything because those people are in government. President, it doesn't concern him. He's just on his own. He will just wake up and tell us he's traveling, and he will travel. People have been talking about the electoral reforms. The president is unconcerned, and we are going into an election. So these are the things. If it's gotten to a point that you have subdued all of us in Nigeria, and we can no longer, you have decided not to hear what we say, then a superpower is calling your attention, but they need to do this one. So do it. Because it's not the implication of, if this situation is allowed to escalate, the ripple effect will be too much. We don't even know how it's going to end. So it's not a bad thing to want the government of Nigeria to improve governance in Nigeria, especially in the areas of governance. We saw the bishop from Benue State who went to the US Congress. He was there. I expected the government Because that thing was that thing happened in 2004 to 2024. To have had a meeting, to call the man or call the people involved in Benue, have a meeting. When the president went to Benue, what came out of it? Nothing. They turned it into a political circus. All leaders are talking. Yes, Christian, Muslim deaths. People keep saying, "Oh, equal number of they are killing both." That is not the issue. That's not the narrative. The issue is what is government doing? Even Muslims are killed. What did the government do? No Christians are killed. What did the government do?
Now, Dr. Ezeji, now you've made mention that the point is for the government to improve their governance or asking for a better government in the country. But some people also are opposing the sanctions that the U.S. that has threatened on Nigeria, such as the aid cuts and the military intervention. We're seeing some countries like China, the EU, and ECOWAS saying that the U.S. has no right to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. The Nigerian government is also saying that Nigeria is a sovereign country and, such interference is not going to be accepted. So I want you to speak on that as well.
No, Nigeria is a sovereign country, does not immune Nigeria from coming to kill everybody in Nigeria. Nigeria is a sovereign country. There are minimum requirements. There are minimum governance requirements that are needed. You can't turn Nigeria to a killing field and the world will watch you and say you are sovereign. It doesn't work that way. Sovereignty is an opportunity for you to govern your people in a way that meets minimum standards of good governance. So people who are saying that are not at home with the truth. So when you talk about China is making an opinion. China is making an opinion. ECOWAS or whatever is making an opinion, but not the issues. And we need a bull. We need somebody in the status of the U.S. to talk to Nigeria, because there's a lot of when you talk a country, when you talk about Nigeria as a country of a country of particular concern, that's between the diplomatic relations between Nigeria and the U.S. The U.S. is telling you that your relationship with them is giving them some concern, particular concern. Is giving them some concern in key areas, in certain areas, and the most elaborate there is security. And when you see the population of Nigeria, if we have an implosion in Nigeria now, nobody will be talking about the sovereignty of Nigeria. Nigerians will cross borders. We flood into Cameroon, we flood into Benin, we flood all around. The world will feel it. West Africa will be consumed by what happens in Nigeria. So when you talk about Nigerian sovereignty, Trump is not telling. Trump is telling you governance. He's giving you time. Governance. And you're saying he shouldn't tell you that. Who says that? The world is a small village. Everybody sees what happens in the other space. So people who are pushing these narratives are people who have an agenda. Let me tell you, there's an agenda of Islamization in Nigeria, and it keeps creeping in gradually. Christians are killed. The president has no official the presidency or the government have no official response to that. It has now become commonplace. People will tell you Muslims, how many Muslims are killed. See, when you have a mapping of killings in Nigeria, yes, killings are everywhere, and you see there are different groups doing the killing. There are the rogue terrorists who are killed, but there are people also who kill and acquire and take over communities, and the government will allow them to stay there. The bishop that was speaking and the Congress said all these things, and there are no official response happened. Government kept quiet. They think it's business as usual. I'm not talking about sovereignty. People travel, people are invited across to talk and discuss their country. Why do you go? Isolate yourself. Be in a silos. When you talk about sovereignty, there are people in your country who are wounded, who are voiceless, who are very poor, who cannot raise a hand, and they are the ones being vanquished. The world is coming to their rescue. They will get help. So that's not of sovereignty. Because some people want to Islamize the country, take over the country, let's get rid of the middle belt, then we'll get into the southeast, then we'll get to the Niger Delta, and we'll be watching. We'll be watching because Nigeria is sovereignty. Which nonsense sovereignty? The government have to sit up. If they're a sovereign nation, have to sit up. Your citizens have a right. Let Nigerians decide whether they want to be in this sovereign or not. You deny Nigerians of the right to discuss the so-called country that is the sovereign nation, and then you refuse to give them good governance. And then when the world say, give them good governance, you say, we are a sovereign nation. It's not the right way to go.
All right. Now, another part of the sanctions that we would like to look out for is the aftermath of all of this. Now, in the headlines today, we saw that there have been asset freezes, visa bans, and we saw that the U.S. is drawing up strike plans with heavy and medium, according to them, light attacks that will be carried out in Nigeria. And given U.S. history and interference with other countries, and if you look at what happened with Gaza, Israel, Iran, Iraq, so with all of that interference, do you think that the U.S. is bluffing, or do you think that if Nigeria does not come to an extent of doing something, do you think that all of this threat will be carried out? And if it is carried out, where does that leave Nigeria? What do you think will be the response of Nigeria?
See, if Nigeria allows the situation to get out of hand, the ball is in the court of Nigeria. Trump did not wake up and fly drones or get the military war plans into Nigeria. So he has called the attention to something maybe you are ignoring or are getting erroneous feedback from your generals or people who should talk to the president. So it's an opportunity for you, for the president, the government of Nigeria, to do some introspection and see where we can have improvements. It can be more religious tolerance in those communities, restore all communities in Plateau and Benue State where people have been chased out. Make serious effort to return IDPs to their homes. Because this thing is getting, yes, America might have oversimplified the situation in Nigeria by talking about Christian killing, but there is Christian killing. We should even have a data in numbers of the number of people killed. But America, I believe, should have that. And the government would not. We see in social media all the time, we see pictures of people being buried, mass grave, people, leaders, religious leaders, Christian leaders from those regions, Plateau and Benue State, talking about what is happening. The bishop even talks about number of churches that have been burnt and closed down, all the burials they did. Government there are no official government to all those things. They have not responded. And then you are talking about sovereignty. That time out is in the court of Nigeria, not to get this to further degenerate. Anything you get, you take. Because it may get to a point where there may be a plebiscite, there may be need to have to say, okay, to move forward, let Nigerians come and decide if they want to still coexist in this country with their persecutors. It can get to that point. The world will interfere. Since we are proven incapable of managing affairs, it come. When you maybe talk of the likes of Nnamdi Kanu, what they have not been able to achieve, government may be giving it to them on a platter. Because when it affects, a lot of groups will come in, international groups will come in, to, okay, let's help to resolve this. Since government is proving incapable. Because when government is unable to govern and show and use the authority it has to govern properly, that means it's lawlessness. People are killing people. There are no repercussions. There are no repercussions. They are not being punished. They are not being arrested. Government, you not see anything happening. So you allow the wounded to mourn his own sorrows. So the consequence is that Nigeria Nigeria knows what to do. You know, in my place, they said you don't ask an adult to get out of the sun. When the sun is on, you decide whether you want to stand there or you stay there. Nobody asks you to leave the sun. So the federal government knows what to do. Unfortunately, we seem to have in the government people who are extremists, who feel the country should be fully Islamized. There are people who feel that way. That is trying to steal the country from the back. If you want to Islamize the country, have a plebiscite, call everybody, let's have a national meeting, what do you call it? A national gathering, and or constitutional assembly, whatever you call it. People gather together and they decide whether they want to continue to remain in this country with the terms, with the way it is being governed. You have a constitution. The constitution is the ground. It's supposed to guide us. It's the guidance for us on how the constitution is being flouted. It's being abused on a daily basis. Nobody talks. So when you go to the courts to get some remedies, the court ignores you. You give perverse judgments. And you're forcing everybody to remain here. Who refuse to be here?
Now, Dr. Ezeji, you've made mention a couple of times about the Islamization of the country. And you also mentioned that when this issue of Christian killings or Christian genocide came up, there had been responses saying it's not just Christians, Muslims as well. So I want to ask you, looking at this idea of Islamization, why does it seem that it's only the Christians that are coming out to speak on the killings of their own as opposed to the Muslims if they as well are being killed? And this morning on the headlines, we see that Tinubu is rallying foreign allies because the North is rejecting the Sharia ban and the US move to outlaw the Sharia. So do you think this is all part of this issue of Islamization? Can you talk about that too?
Islamization is real. Islamization is real. Some people, it's not yet an official government policy, but there are people who are within the corridors of power, and who are the people who appear to be the people who the government looks up to, that influence government opinion. So there are people there who believe this country, that people who are not part of Islam should become Islam, or they should even stop getting rights, minimum rights in Nigeria. Because we say we're a secular state, and now the president decided to run a Muslim ticket. The other ticket, you take your own. Buhari was a Muslim. He just finished. So we are it's a association of people from one religion ruling the country. Who tells you that it will stop in the next dispensation? Because you see, the Christians are always very, very calm. They take things easy. When somebody is calm and easy, he's right. You give him his privilege. You don't just rough shoulder him. You just behave as if it doesn't matter anymore. When El-Rufai tried the Muslim ticket in Kaduna, people were watching him, and now he came to national. People said it would never happen at national. Even Buhari could not even do it. And we felt we had the worst of Buhari. But now Tinubu is coming to show us that we didn't even know him. And I'm going to tell you, how can a president who is a Muslim and have a Christian wife behave that way? But we have seen it. We see the disease of governance. So it's a call. The Americans are welcome to comment on Nigeria and to direct Nigeria accordingly. Since Nigeria has made itself so impenetrable, a public opinion in Nigeria, comments by Nigeria are ignored. Nothing happens. So when you see all those things you talk about, They are all the same. Anything that breeds doubt on the mind of citizens, you manage it.
All right, Dr. Joachim, we want to thank you very much. Dr. Joachim, if you can hear me, want to say a very big thank you for joining us in the studio and for giving your opinion on U.S. sanction of Nigeria and all the matters surrounding it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it's a wrap on that conversation. Now we'll go on a short break. When we return, Signature Morning continues.